Oh, you're gonna want to sit down for this one. The St. Louis Blues win 2-1 over the Boston Bruins in Game 5 of the Stanley Cup Final, taking a 3-2 series lead. And next game, Game 6, the cup is going to be in the building. And very few people in the hockey world are talking about that today because all they want to do is talk about the atrocity of officiating that this game was. And I'm sure you're all wondering, the question that's on everyone's mind, how does this affect the Leafs? And I'm glad you asked. Because people are talking about the Bruins like they got screwed in this one, and how is that even possible? The Bruins got 3 power plays in this one, the Blues only got 1. How could a team that got more power plays than the other team possibly be the team getting screwed? Well, I think that's a very good question. How might the team getting more power plays be the team getting screwed? Because my theory, and it's just a theory, the Blues committed way more infractions than the Boston Bruins, which is why they got more penalties. And I just feel like the team that commits more infractions should get more penalties. Do we all agree? I think we all agree. Or at very least, now we do. Anyway, sorry, I'm done. This edition of Schadenfreude Fridays is over. Seriously, the Bruins got jobbed. I'll talk about the 1-0 goal first and then get right into the infractions because honestly, doesn't it feel like the goals and the game were secondary? Maybe I shouldn't be surprised that the Boston Bruins dominated from puck drop in the first period because, oh my goodness, TD Garden. They call it home ice advantage for a few reasons. 1, the rules literally benefit the home team. 2, the energy of the building. A lot of people were talking about heading into this game whether or not Char should even be playing, whether or not it's smart, even with the protection around his face. It's almost worth having him in the lineup for the reaction before the game even began alone. A bone-chilling chant from the crowd at TD Garden, and you knew Boston was gonna dominate. The Blues had no shot out of the gate. And then, of course, the game started, and yeah. First period. Didn't I say the Bruins outshooting the Blues 17-8 in the first period, and like half of the Blues' 8 shots came in the final 5 minutes of the frame. The Bruins dominated from puck drop. Bruins outshot the Blues once again in the second period, this time only 8-6. In the third period, 14-7. They doubled them up. They dominated. It's such a strange series. They don't seem to evenly match ever. And at some point, if the Blues are gonna win a cup, especially because Boston has home ice advantage, Jordan Bennington is gonna have to steal one. Officiating, yes, but Jordan Bennington stole this game for the Blues. And Carl Gunnarsson at the very end. Wow. Bennington was a star in this game, and I'm not sure he had a better period in these playoffs than he had in the first period of this one. 17 shots, 17 saves. If he doesn't come up big, the game's over after 20. And like I said, at least half of the Blues shots came in the final 5 minutes. They're building momentum because Bennington kept him in it. And sure enough, because of that little momentum build at the end of the first, the Blues are able to capitalize in the first minute of the second. David Perron in the offensive zone along the half wall, digging for the puck and winning the puck battle to the point. Puck finds itself on Alex Pietrangelo's stick, and everything goes through Alex Pietrangelo, who, by the way, makes $6.5 million and allegedly was almost traded this season. I just think of some of the names on the Blues that were almost traded when they were in last place in January, and I can't believe what I'm watching now. It looked like Pietrangelo might have been sending a pass into the high slot to Zach Sanford, but it was a little bit behind him, so he lets it go into the corner. It also might have been intentional. The puck ends up behind the net, and look at this. The Bruins have numbers and everything. McAvoy and Chara both go behind the net to attack Sanford. No one really has O'Reilly in front. I don't know if it was a communication issue or what, but both defensemen go after one guy behind the net. Jake DeBrusk doesn't read it. It's a mess all around. Sanford is just able to pull off the pass to Ryan O'Reilly. Quick little move. How is he able to do that move with that abomination of a stick? Roofs it on Tuukka Rask, and less than a minute into the second period, the St. Louis Blues take the 1-0 lead. Ryan O'Reilly with his 6th of the playoffs, his 3rd in the past 2 games, 3rd in the past 4 periods and 55 seconds. In the past 4 periods and 55 seconds, he has doubled his playoff goal total. Assists to Zach Sanford, Alex Pietrangelo, and let's be honest, Jordan Bennington's first period. So, we've talked about hockey, you know, a goalie making saves and a goal. Let's talk about the refs. In the first period, Vince Dunn, puck over the glass. Brad Marchand with the Bruins 1 penalty in this game, a slashing call on Jordan Bennington. The Bruins really tried to get to Bennington. And beyond that, 2 interference calls, 1 in the second, 1 in the third. There was David Perron and David Pasternak, and Alex Steen on David Krejci. There were 4 players involved there, 3 of them named David. Not relevant, but I'm easily distracted. Now, those are the 3 that were called. There were 3 that were missed in this game. You might have your own little list, but there were 3, to me, that were particularly bad. Like, you could make, I'm sure, a laundry list of like 20 things. The ref missed this, the ref missed that. Well, a lot of that is up to judgment, and also, refs are gonna miss things. I think we can all agree that even on a good night of officiating, refs are gonna miss stuff. It's the playoffs and a lot is going on. It's fast! First one I want to talk about isn't even the 2-0 goal. You can't go back and review that. What's done is done. You know what the league can go back and take a look at, and by the time this video is posted, maybe the league will have announced something, I don't know. Barbashev's hit on Marcus Johansson, man. That looked like a head hit to me, and it might be one that the league takes a look at. I don't know at this point. Heading into Game 6 of the Stanley Cup Final, if they actually do anything about it, but I thought it was a missed call. And Johansson still played 17 minutes, 22 seconds, but man, that guy's got a history. Meanwhile, Barbashev was out there hitting everything. One of 2 Blues to have 6 hits in the game. The other was Braden Shen. So that was one that I thought they missed. There were 2, however, where... Listen, refs are gonna let stuff go. They're not gonna call every interference call. They're not gonna call every little slash. They're not gonna call every little trip. If you've been watching my videos for a while, you know this theory already. Refs are willing to let stuff go unless it affects puck possession. If it changes who does and doesn't have the puck, they're gonna call it. Something chippy behind the play, whatever, it's just rough stuff. If it actually changes who has possession, they're gonna call it. With about 12 seconds to go in the second period, everyone was talking about, oh my goodness, the save David Krejci made on Alex Pietrangelo. A gloved save. Saved the game, potentially. Save of the game. Jordan Bennington had an amazing first period. I don't know if any of the saves he made were as impressive as the one Krejci. I'm not redoing it. David Krejci makes that incredible save, and it sort of distracted from what happened right before it. Bruins trying to break out of the zone for one last rush, and maybe a little bit too soon. But at 18 seconds left in the period, Krug has the puck. All the Bruins beam it to the other end of the ice, and Krug fans on it, so now they're in trouble. So Oskar Sundqvist and Torrey Krug get into a puck battle, and what is this? It's kind of a grainy garbage picture, but Sundqvist is clearly holding on to Krug's arm. He can't go anywhere. He's not trying to sell this. That is a hold. The Blues get possession of the puck. There's a pass. There's a wide open net, and they almost score with it. Call me crazy. I think this one might have been more egregious than the trip that led to the 2-0 goal. There's a melee going on. The puck is right behind them. I don't know where any official could possibly be looking, and I don't know what they're seeing. That's not a hold. It's a hold. Listen, refs' jobs are hard. I get it. That's the easiest call you're ever gonna have to make in your life. And if you're an official, I think all you want coming out of a game is for the outcome to not be your fault. So, whew, they get away with one. Am I right, fellas? Now, I'm not gonna talk too much about was it Krejci or Pasternak? The no goal for Boston. It wasn't a goal. You can't go shoving the goalie into the net. I admire the effort. So I suppose we fast forward to the scene of the crime. Puck in the corner to Tuukka Rask blocker's side. 2 Bruins chasing it to 1 Blue, and that Blue being Tyler Bozak. The first Bruin to get to it, Noel Acciari. And Bozak gets Acciari's left leg with both his stick and his own right leg. Now, I have seen people talking about how this might have been a flop from Acciari. And listen, if you watch the replay, certain angles, if it's in slow motion, yeah, it actually does sort of look like a dive a little bit. Now, I'm not usually this guy. Watch it in full speed. If you slow it down, you might go, oh yeah, you know, he threw himself back a little bit. But what do you always say for the ref to give them the benefit of the doubt? Well, they gotta watch it in real time. They gotta watch it in full speed. If you watch the play at full speed, I have an extremely hard time believing Acciari dove. Look at this. Bozak takes his left leg and it's right up in the air. Whether he dove or not, he's going down. And Acciari is down after the play, and it was interesting looking at his reaction to it. There's talk about he might have smacked his head. Was he a bit dazed? He landed really hard on his upper back. Maybe he was winded. If you look though, he reached towards his leg. And I think this might be why, right? Look at this, man. I'm not smart enough medically to know exactly what he's pulling here, but that cannot be comfortable. He's played an 82-game regular season. He's been in the playoffs for almost 2 months. I'm willing to bet this hurt. And I'm willing to bet he didn't put himself in that position on purpose and was legitimately hurt. And Bozak puts his arm up as if to say, oh, I didn't even do anything. Ref's looking right at him. Bozak might as well be heading to the box and nothing happens. Puck goes to the point. David Perron, like, daintily touches the thing, almost like he had no plan. Like, he was stunned. Like, he was surprised the play was even still going. All he did was fire the puck right back at Bozak. The puck takes a wild hop to Ryan O'Reilly, who battles and finds a way to get it to David Perron, who wheels. He throws it in front, and Torrey Krug is helpless. He's the only Bruin back. Bozak is waiting there on the doorstep, by the way. If he scores that goal, there's a riot. But instead it's Perron who scores, and I'm not sure that felt much better for Bruins fans. And all of a sudden, the Blues are up 2-0 in Game 5. Less than 9.5 minutes remaining. You know, people have been talking about Craig Berube's words and how they have impacted this series. At this point in the game, the penalties are already 3-1 in favor of the Bruins. The Blues have taken 3 penalties, the Bruins only the 1. In fact, when this play happened, the Blues just killed off their last penalty, the Alex Steen interference call, only 4 minutes ago. And you always hear about, like, oh, the even-up calls. Sometimes the even-up call is you just don't send the penalties further in one direction. So these guys know that the penalties are 3-1. They already have Craig Berube's words echoing in their mind. Did that play a factor on this play? Man, I think it did. And Bruce Cassidy was mad. It's very rare you ever hear a coach speak out against officiating like this. Here's the quote. "I thought it was clean. Looking back on it, shoulder to shoulder. Obviously, Kadri stayed down. I mean, that's his prerogative when you get hit." What? Sorry, that's the wrong quote. I'm trying to delete it. Bruce Cassidy calls the officiating in Game 5 a black eye for the NHL. Adds it was egregious. Bruce Cassidy says he believes the narrative changed when counterpart Craig Berube complained about the officiating after Game 3. And actually, speak of the devil, this just breaking as I'm making this video. St. Louis's Ivan Barbashev will have a hearing today for an illegal check to the head on Boston's Marcus Johansson. All right. You want a lesson in how the world works? Watch this. Heading into Game 6 of the Stanley Cup Final, does this get a suspension? Probably not. I thought it was a check to the head, for sure, but because Johansson stayed in the game, they're going to go with that no apparent injury thing. But they're getting a lot of heat out of Boston because, well, they goofed. My bet, Barbashev does not play in Game 6. But he comes back for Game 7. But of course, this is us looking back on it. At the time, there's still game left. About 6.5 minutes remaining. The Boston Bruins managed to intercept the puck at the blue line, specifically Torrey Krug, who, ironically, takes a high stick to the face that was not called. He manages to hold on to the puck, keep the puck onside, and send it to a streaking Jake DeBrusk. Blast! And they finally beat Jordan Bennington. It is a 1-goal game. And TD Garden's losing it. They're like 3 minutes removed from going nuts after the 2-0 goal and throwing stuff on the ice. The way that building was rocking, the way they were losing it after that goal, I'm surprised the Bruins didn't win in regulation. Jake DeBrusk with his 4th of the playoffs, Torrey Krug with his 15th assist. Can I throw something out there? If the Boston Bruins do end up winning the Stanley Cup, which is still a distinct possibility, a lot of people are talking about giving it to Tuukka Rask, the Conn Smythe being it. They're not wrong, but I think there's a legitimate argument, especially with how deadly their power play has been. You give the Conn Smythe to Torrey Krug. I'm serious. With the beating this defense has taken in the playoffs, the amount of minutes Krug is playing, how important he's been to the team, you could argue he's been even more valuable than Rask. I mean, the truth is the Bruins don't get this far without one of them. And listen to me waxing poetically, now the Bruins only have a few minutes to tie it. And the closest they get, bomb from the point. Bennington stops it, or does he? Squeaks through, oh my goodness! Carl Gunnarsson, how does this guy keep showing up? Swats it out of the crease. And the clock winds down. 3, 2, 1. The Blues are already coming off of the bench. They know they stole one, and they are getting the hell out of Dodge for what they hope is the last time. And they better hope for the last time. Not just because you want to win the Stanley Cup on home ice, not just because you want to win the Stanley Cup, period, but after what happened in Game 5. Do you really want to go back to Boston for Game 7? Questions. Any chance on the Bozak no call, the ref felt that Achari embellished the impact so he considered things a wash at the time? Man, I really don't know what they were thinking. They were looking right at it. So, yeah, That's the only logical explanation. I had a lot of people tweeting me about accidental trips and what they are in the rulebook. Dude, it affected puck possession. My foot accidental. Are you kidding? How is the coffee? It's good. Are Bruins fans more unhappy than Leafs fans? Yes, Leaf fans are done being unhappy. Now they're sort of talking about the offseason and relatively apathetic. Bruins fans are hopping mad, and that still is obviously from a video that was going around of a Bruins fan fighting a Bruins fan. Actually, there were two separate fights. One guy tried to put an arm bar on another guy in the seats. Are you dumb? When fans of opposing teams fight each other, it's so stupid. But I'm like, okay, I understand how that happened. You've probably been beaking at each other all night long, mixing a little bit of alcohol. Yeah, I can see how that happened. How do you fight fans of your own team? What were you talking about that led to this? Now, I also had a lot of people in my mentions going, well, that's Boston for you. Oh, Boston. Careful. Dude, after Game 3 last year against Boston, the Leafs win the game. They won the game, and Matthews scored that goal where he goes, you know the one. Freddie made that ridiculous paddle save. It was a spectacular game. Just across from Scotiabank Arena, at the time the ACC, two Leaf fans, like, just uppercuts. No one even did anything for like the first half dozen punches because we're like, what is happening? Not to mention, I've spoken to security there, and it's not like they do nothing. Fans fight at sporting events. They fight at hockey games, they fight at football games, they fight at a variety of games, and they do it everywhere. Is it worse in Boston? I don't know, but I'm willing to bet it's not. Why do Leaf fans have to chirp Bruins fans about a missed call when the Leafs lost in the first round? Next question. Boston book tour? Your Leaf fans in Boston will be sure to bring you clam chowder, pizzeria Regina, and cannolis from Mike's Pastry. Oh, listen, Leaf fans, Bruins fans, I'd love to come to Boston for the book tour. I'd love to go anywhere. I'm willing to travel. The problem is traveling costs money. There was a budget to travel to Vancouver, which I'm doing in a few weeks. There isn't a budget to go anywhere else. I'm talking to some people about doing some tours if we can make it work. Maybe an Alberta tour, that's one we talked about. Maybe an East Coast tour, that's one we talked about. I'd love to do something in the States. I gotta get creative to make it happen. And believe me, if I can, Boston's on the list for sure. And so, the plot thickens, and next game, the cup will be in the building. That is it for this one. Thank you very much for watching. Click like if you liked this video. Click subscribe if you really liked it. Tell your friends that the week is almost over. So don't even trip. That was terrible.